In this video we'll be covering a build I'm calling the Crit Fishing Spellbow. This build is inspired by my friend Lucas's character over in our Netherdeep campaign. It's essentially designed to take the Elven Accuracy feat along with the Sneak Attack and Smite features to stack a lot of dice and thus damage on top of your critical hits. It definitely did end up a lot different than that original build, but I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. This build does make very good use of an optional class feature from Tasha's. If you're not able to use those, it is still playable, but it's much better if you are able to use the optional feature. So let's get right into it with the race. You can go with pretty much any elf here. I'm going to go with the Shatter Kai because I think it's the best elf race overall. The feature I really like is its teleportation feature that lets us get 30 feet away and have resistance to all damage for a round. That'll be really useful for a build like this one that likes to stay at range all the time. And for the background, as I always do, I'm going to recommend Strixhaven, but I do actually have a specific recommendation this time. It's not required, but it does help the build come online a lot faster. If you can, I would take the Strixhaven Quandrix background. This will allow you to get the Find Familiar spell 7 levels early and the Haste spell about 13 levels early. This build is still great without it, but of course getting your features online that much earlier is always good. For our ability scores, we'll be assuming point buy. We'll be going with a Strength of 8, a Dexterity of 13, a Constitution of 15 plus 1 from our race for a total of 16, an Intelligence of 8, a Wisdom of 12, and a Charisma of 15 plus 2 from our race for a total of 17. And if you're rolling for ability scores, I would prioritize Charisma, Constitution, and then Dexterity. And next we'll go over our ideal equipment. I would start as close as you can to this and then work up to it over the course of your campaign. We'll just need half plate armor, thieves tools, and an arcane focus. Not too much for this build. And with all that out of the way, at level 1 will be a Warlock 1. We'll get our otherworldly patron right away, and we're going to be going with Hexblade. And first off there we get the Hex Warrior feature, the main reason a lot of people pick Hexblade, so you can use your Charisma instead of your Strength or Dexterity to attack with. We actually won't get a whole lot of use out of this until level 3, just because we can't use a bow with it until we get the improved pack weapon invocation. And we also get Hexblade's Curse. This will be really good for us once we start crit fishing since it doubles our crit chance. For now it's just a nice little damage boost against big single targets. And also here at level 1 we get Pact Magic. The only two spells I'm going to recommend here are Eldritch Blast and Hex. Up until we can use our bow at level 3, Eldritch Blast will be our best damage option, and Hex will be our best concentration option in terms of damage for quite a while. For the other spell choices here, you can pick whichever ones you would like. At level 2 will be a Warlock 2, and we'll get Eldritch Invocations here. The only one I would say you need to pick up at this level is Agonizing Blast, just to keep up with damage until we can start using our bow. At level 3 will be a Warlock 3, and we'll pick up our Pact Boon here, and we'll pick Pact of the Blade. And along with that, we'll swap out Agonizing Blast for the improved Pack Weapon invocation. This lets us conjure a longbow as our packed weapon, and it also gives it a +1 to attack and damage rolls. This will become our new main damage option. We also pick up second level spells. None are really needed for this build. Pick whichever ones you would like, just make sure to keep Hex. And at level 4 will be a Warlock 4, and we'll get our first ability score increase or feat, and I would take Sharpshooter here. Unless you were able to take the Strixhaven background, we don't really have a way to get advantage consistently yet for Elven Accuracy, so the Sharpshooter feat is better for now. And at level 5 will be a Warlock 5. This will be our last level in Warlock, and it's a pretty big one. First off, we'll be picking up 2 new invocations. We'll have to swap one out, and we'll get a new one this level. And those 2 invocations are Eldritch Smite and Thirsting Blade. Thirsting Blade is essentially just extra attack as long as we're using our packed weapon, and then Eldritch Smite is very similar to Divine Smite on a hit. It lets us spend a spell slot to do a number of d8s of damage. A number of d8s is equal to 1 plus the level of the spell slot. And if your DM was nice enough to give you a +1 longbow or better by this time, you can swap out your improved pack weapon infusion instead of one of your other infusions because improved pack weapon doesn't stack with magic item pluses. And we also get 3rd level spells here. If you were able to take the Quandrix background, you can pick up Haste here, and that becomes your new concentration spell for the rest of your character's career. But if you weren't able to take that background, we still have 2 great choices, those being Hypnotic Pattern and Counterspell. And at level 6 will be a Rogue 1. We'll pick up Sneak Attack. It starts at 1d6 and we'll scale at every odd level of Rogue from here on. And we'll pick up Thieves' Cant as well as Expertise. My recommendations for the first two Expertise would be Perception and Stealth. They are great skills overall, but in terms of combat, this will help us surprise our enemies and not get surprised by our enemies. And at level 7 will be a Rogue 2. We'll pick up Cunning Action here. Lets us dash, disengage, or hide as a bonus action. This is very useful to have, but after our next level, we likely won't be using this very much. And at level 8 will be a Rogue 3, and we'll get our Roguish archetype here, and we are of course going with the Arcane Trickster. First we'll pick up Mage Hand, Ledger Domain. This just adds a lot of cool utility to the character. And in terms of spells, I would make sure to pick up Find Familiar here if you weren't able to take Strixhaven, and I'd also recommend picking up Silvery Barbs. For the cantrips and the third spell choice, pick whichever ones you would like. And we also pick up Steady Aim, the optional feature I mentioned earlier from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. This allows us to get advantage on our next attack roll that turn as a bonus action as long as we don't move. This combined with Find Familiar will give us advantage on 2 attacks per turn. And that's perfect for what we get next level at level 9 when we're a Rogue 4. And we get another ASI or feat, and we can pick up the Elven Accuracy feat. And like I just mentioned, we have advantage on both of our attacks each turn now. And since we have Elven Accuracy, we'll effectively get triple advantage. And with that sort of all coming together here at level 9, it's a good time to go over tactics for this build. If you were able to pick up haste at level 5, tactics for that will be went over at level 20, as I can't really assume everybody will be able to use the Quandrix background. So on your turn, you usually want to do your bonus action first. A lot of times this will be Steady Aim, but on the first turn you'll likely want to place a Hex on the target you're going after. If you have a huge single target in something like a boss fight, I would place Hexblade's Curse first, then place Hex on the second turn. This will allow you to slowly ramp up your damage against that boss. And then whenever you can, have your familiar start holding their help action to help with your second attack, as Steady Aim will just help with your first one. And then for your action, make your 2 attacks with the triple advantage from Elven Accuracy, smiting on criticals, and also I would try to save your sneak attack for your criticals. You are able to choose which hit to use sneak attack on, and you're rolling 3 dice, so you're probably not going to miss out on the sneak attack, even if you wait till the second hit. And now we'll go over DPR numbers and a bunch of different situations this character might find themselves in, and all these numbers are calculated against 18 armor class, as that is the average for this level. And for all of these, I would use the -5 + 10 from Sharpshooter at AC 20 or lower. And first off, our DPR with just Hex, no Hexblade's Curse or Smites, would be 43.39. And then a step up from that, our DPR with just Smites available would be 53.66 DPR. And then a step up from that, using Hexblade's Curse and Smites, likely on a boss, would be 71.91 DPR. And then if you were able to take the Quandrix background and you have Haste, Hexblade's Curse, and Smites available, you'll be doing 84.18 damage per round. And once it all came together, this build is doing amazing here at level 9, doing more than double the average damage at this level. At level 10 will be a Rogue 5, we'll pick up Uncanny Dodge. This lets us use our reaction to cut damage from an attack in half. It'll be nice to have when we're not using our reaction to attack. And at level 11 will be a Rogue 6, and we'll pick up our second round of Expertise. And there's none that we really need for the build here, maybe Acrobatics to avoid grapples, but if you're staying at a good range, that shouldn't be happening too much, so just pick whichever ones you would like. At level 12 will be a Rogue 7, we'll pick up Evasion here. A nice boost to our survivability by buffing our Dexterity saving throws, and we'll also pick up second level spells here from the Arcane Trickster. There's none that are really important to the build here, so again, pick whichever ones you would like. And at level 13 will be a Rogue 8, and we get another ability score increase or feat. And I would take the Piercer feat here. This actually does quite a lot for our build. It'll give us a +1 to Dexterity, which most importantly will increase our armor class and initiative by 1 each. It'll let us re-roll our weapon damage dice once per turn, and it'll also give us an extra weapon damage die on our criticals. At level 14 will be a Rogue 9, and we'll pick up the Magical Ambush feature here. And to be quite honest, our save DC is terrible, so we probably won't get any use out of this. Which is okay. Pretty much all the other Arcane Trickster features are great for us, so I think it's okay to take a dead one here. And at level 15 will be a Rogue 10, and Rogues get another ability score increase or feat here, and I would just bump our Charisma to 20. And at level 16 will be a Rogue 11, and we'll pick up the Reliable Talent feature here. And this is a really cool feature, making it almost impossible for you to fail skills that you have proficiency or expertise in. And at level 17 will be a Rogue 12, and I would pick up the Lucky feat here. This is really cool on a Crit Fisher with Elven Accuracy, as we can potentially roll 4 dice for an absolutely insane crit chance on an attack. This will be great when you really need to get an enemy down, and it'll also be nice when you fail a saving throw. And level 18, we'll be taking our final level of Rogue, Rogue 13. We pick up the Versatile Trickster feature from Arcane Trickster. This lets us use our Mage Hand to distract an enemy, giving us advantage against them for this turn. This is a slightly better and more reliable steady aim, and since it's a cantrip with a 1-minute duration, you should be able to have this up all the time and thus before combat. The main thing you want to do here, if you don't already have haste from Quandrix, is swap out one of your spells for haste. Just remember you can only swap the spell you got at level 8, as that's the last unrestricted option you got in terms of schools of magic. Haste is the only spell we need for the build. Another cool option is Phantom Steed. Unfortunately we can't cast it as a ritual, but it still could be useful in certain situations. It is definitely a bit late because we already have Versatile Trickster, but this does give us a cool interaction with steady aim. If you're mounted and only the mount is moving you around, you are technically not moving, just the mount is moving, so you're still able to use steady aim even though you are moving around the battlefield. Like I said, this doesn't really matter to us much now since we already have Versatile Trickster, but it is a good option to know if you were using a non-magical mount at earlier levels. At levels 19 and 20, we'll be taking our final multi-class here, and we'll be taking 2 levels of Fighter. This is mainly to pick up the Archery Fighting Style, as a +2 on our ranged attacks is huge. We'll also pick up Second Wind. It's a very small heal at this level, but it is nice to have. And we'll also pick up Action Surge. As I'll explain in the tactics in a moment, this will let us keep our sustained damage up from round 1. We'll no longer need a setup round. So yes, for our final tactics here, these should work from levels 18 through 20, but I will mention the features we got at level 19 and 20 as well. On turn 1, for the bonus action, not too much changes here. I would still apply the Hex or Hexblade's Curse first, depending on the target, but now instead of steady aim, we want to use the Versatile Trickster feature. This will make it so we have advantage on all of our attacks because we're making a total of 3 attacks now with haste. And on the action afterward, cast haste, and if you don't have action surge, just take the hasted action and attack, applying sneak attack, smiting if you crit. If you do have action surge, use it, attack twice, both having advantage because of Versatile Trickster, and then hold your hasted action till the turn of the creature immediately after you in initiative. This will allow you to fire and apply sneak attack for a second time in the round since it's on a different turn. And on turns 2 or 3 plus, after you have that Hex and or Hexblade's Curse applied, you'll just be using the Versatile Trickster feature every round, shooting twice, and then holding your hasted action till the start of the next turn to apply sneak attack twice every round. Applying sneak attack twice like this is definitely one of the coolest tricks rogues have in D&D 5e, and it does wonders for our damage per round. And you'll usually want to have your familiar help you on your held hasted action, as both steady aim and Versatile Trickster only work on your turn. And for our final damage numbers here, all of these numbers were calculated against a 20 armor class. To start, our DPR with no resources, no Hexblade's Curse, no haste, no smites, we'll be doing 73.57 DPR. Even with no resources, we're off to a great start. We're doing more than double the average damage for level 20. And that is using Sharpshooter at AC 25 or lower. And for our DPR with haste, still no smites or Hexblade's Curse, we'll be doing 123.81 damage per round. And that's with Sharpshooter on AC 24 or lower. And continuing on a step up from that, our DPR with haste and smites available, but still no Hexblade's Curse, is 141.78 damage per round. And that's with Sharpshooter at 23 AC or lower. And finally, our boss DPR when we're using haste, Hexblade's Curse, and smites is 185.76, and that's with Sharpshooter at an AC of 21 or lower. Now this is ridiculously high, and one thing to keep in mind is that this will drop a lot once we run out of Warlock spell slots, which with our insane crit chance will run out of Warlock spell slots in about 2.5 turns. But honestly, I'm okay with the build dropping off like this because, like we mentioned earlier, even with just haste and no smites, you're still doing 123 damage per round, which is more than 3 times the average for this level, so even then you're still doing great damage. But with all of that said, that is all we have for this build. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you guys thought of the build down below in the comments. And if you'd like to see my last build guide, you can check that out right here. But I will see you guys in the next one.